Hello, I'm talking to you. This is Goddess of Science Physics, and I'm Mrs. Bolvin. And today we're going to learn how to use the easy peasy surefire factor label method to convert from one unit to another. So, first off, we'll go down through the steps and we'll do the work in these boxes here. The first thing you need to do is learn the conversions. Well, that's not going to be so difficult for you because you have a conversions worksheet that has all the conversions for you. If you don't have that, you might want to see someone who has all of the conversions written in their worksheet, and you can use that whenever you're doing these conversions. It makes it a little easier. The metric ones are easy if you know what the prefixes mean. That's why I gave you the prefixes. You'll never be able to factor label effectively if you don't know the conversions or if you don't have access to the conversions. Okay, so enough with that. So first step, the real first step, is start what's given. If the problem is in the form of a math equation, 45 millimeters equals how many meters? So you have to start with the only number that they give you. 45 millimeters. All right, now let's have a little chat about how factor labeling works. Here's the principle. If you had 3 over 4, if you multiplied that by 4 over 1, the 4's would go away, right, because they divide out, so you'd end up with 3 as the answer. That's the whole principle behind factor labeling. Only instead of doing it with numbers, you're going to do it with units. So in this case, the only unit that we know is millimeters, so we're going to put that in the next box on the bottom. And then we're going to, on the top box, so don't bother with the numbers, look at the units. Whatever units your first number has, put that down below in the next blank. Okay? Decide what you have to convert the unit into. Well, in our case, it's meters, so we're going to convert that directly into meters. So that's the unit we're going to put up there. If you don't know the conversion directly, to do it directly, change it into a unit you do know, like change it into the basic unit. We're changing millimeters into the basic unit already, so we don't really need to do that. But never fear, we'll have some exemplars which will have us do some of these two-stepper problems. For each conversion, ask which unit is larger and put a 1 next to it. So is a millimeter larger or a meter? Well, meter is an entire stick. A millimeter, there are 1,000 little millimeter marks on the stick, so I would say the meter is the larger. So then ask yourself how many smaller units make up the larger unit. So how many millimeters make up a meter? Looking at your conversion sheet, you would find out that it's 1,000. Now, that's the brain power part of this. Now it's just doing the math the way it's supposed to. Each box here, you're going to multiply across the top, and you're going to get, in this case, it's going to be 45 times 1, which is 45. You're going to multiply across the bottom. Well, in this case, we only have 1,000. So then you're going to divide 45 by 1,000, so that's going to be 0.045 meters is the answer. Okay? Even though I don't put the times in between here and the division, anytime you have something on the top, you're going to multiply that all together to get the product there. Anytime you have anything on the bottom, you're going to, and in this case we only have one number, you're going to multiply across the bottom, get a number, and then divide the two numbers. Okay, so that's kind of the outline of how to do this. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to do some exemplars. So let me get those exemplars for you. Okay, so following the same method, so we're only given one number here, so that's the one we're going to have to put in the first box. Whatever unit we have here, we're not going to worry about the numbers just yet. Whatever unit we have here, we're going to bring it down here. And then on top, we're going to put what we're converting that into. And in this case, it happens to be kilograms. Awesome. So now you're going to say which one is bigger, a kilogram or a gram, and Remember when I talked about which the prefixes, all the prefixes that end in I, like deci, centi, and milli, there are other ones too, but we're only dealing with those two. Those are all less than the basic unit. If it ends in something other than I, it's greater than the basic unit. So, which is bigger, a kilogram or a gram? Well, kilogram would be greater, so we're going to put a 1 there. How many grams in a kilogram? Consult your sheet, and you'll find out that there are 1,000. Awesome. We're going to multiply across the top here, so we get 25 times 1 is 25. We're going to divide that by 1,000, because that's the only number we have on the bottom. So our answer is 25 divided by 1,000, 0.025. Okay, no big shakes there yet. All right, so let's try another one. So 32.6 milliliters, we're going to take this number because it's the only number we're given. And notice that I wrote the L for milliliters as a capital letter, because sometimes if you use lowercase, it kind of looks like a 1, so I use a capital letter usually. So we're going to take this unit right here, we're going to put it down here, and what are we trying to change it into? Liters. Okay, so consult your sheet. Which one is bigger, a liter or a milliliter? Remember, milli ends in I, so it's less than the basic unit. So liter, there's 1 liter, and how many milliliters make that up? 1,000. Okay, multiply across the top, 32.6, divide that by multiplied across the bottom, which is 1,000, so you get 0.0326. Okay, not too bad. All right, so those are pretty straightforward. You're converting right into the thing that you want. Now, sometimes it's not as easy as that. Sometimes you have to convert into something that is not a basic unit, or from a basic unit into something, and those are the next. Those are what I call the 2-step problems. So same start. So we got 98,000 centimeters. Okay, we're going to put centimeters down here. Now, if you look at your conversion sheet, there's no conversion from centimeters to decimeters or decameters. This is actually decameter. So there's no conversion directly, but there is a conversion to meters. Okay, great. But that's not what we want. So we have to, this is a 2-step problem. So we convert it to meters first, getting rid of the centimeters. Now we have meters, but we don't want meters. We want decameters. So we're going to do the same process again. We're going to take this and bring it down here, and then we're going to put decameters on the top. Okay. So which is bigger, a meter or a centimeter? Well, a meter would be bigger because centi ends in an I, and I said all the ones that end in I are less than the basic unit. So how many centimeters in a meter? Well, it's the same as the number of cents in a dollar, and that would be 100. And now looking at this one, which is bigger, a decameter or a meter? Well, the decameter would be bigger because it doesn't end in I. How many meters in a decameter? Well, there are 10 meters just in a decameter, just like there are 10 years in a decade. So now we're going to multiply across the top. So we got 98,000 times 1 times 1, and that equals 98,000, divided by 100 times 10, which is 1,000. And when you do the math out, it ends up being 98. Okay, so let's recap. We started out just exactly the same, put whatever unit is here down below, changed it into the basic unit this time because it's easier a lot of times to do that, because who wants to remember how many centimeters are in a decameter? If you can change it into the basic unit, you're all good to go. Then let's try this next one. So we got 0.871 hectometers. And hecto doesn't have an I, so it must be greater than the basic unit. So we're going to have hectometers here and hectograms there, hectograms down here. Now, I don't know, there on the paper there is no conversion from hectograms to decigrams, but there probably is one to grams. Okay, so the hectograms are gone. Now we have grams. We have to do the process again. We're going to take that G, put it down here, and this time we're going to put decigrams up top. So which is bigger, a hectogram or the gram, which happens to be the base? Well, hectogram is bigger. How many grams in a hectogram? Hecto begins with H, 100 begins with H. So there's 100 grams in a hectogram. Which is bigger, a decigram, okay, or a gram? And remember, if it ends in I, it's less than the basic unit. So the gram must be bigger. How many decigrams are in a gram? Well, it's the same as dimes in a dollar, so there's 10. So we're going to multiply across the top and across the bottom, so we get 0.871 times 100 times 10, which ends up being 871, divided by 1 times 1, which is 1. So the answer is 871 decigrams. Okay, so one last thing I want to talk about here. Notice this is deca. That's bigger, like a decade is bigger. This is deci. It has fewer letters, so it's smaller. Okay, they're two different things. They're not the same thing at all. Okay, well, that's it for this time. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.